Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ad America, the U.S. Embassy's American Center, with me, Patricia Elizabeth, as one of the e-guide here. Every year, on September 7th, the world celebrates the International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies. But lately, people who live in Jakarta and surrounding areas feel short of breath because of the increasing severe pollution. Here at America, in partnership with Bicara Udara, create an amazing event to dive deep with our amazing speakers into this urgent issue and brainstorm actionable solutions for a healthier planet. But before we start our discussion, we have trivia quiz for you who join us via online platform. And the question is it true or false? The theme for 2023 International Day of Clean Air is Together for Clean Air. You can submit your answer to our social media platform, and if you can guess correctly, you will get a live shout-out from us in the end of this session. Now, allow me to introduce our amazing moderator. She is a founder and general manager of Bu Ibu Baca Buku, and she also awardee the Good Chat Fellowship. Everyone, please give a big round of applause to Putih Puar.
Okay, hello everyone, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us here, and also I would like to say hello for those who are joining online from Zoom and other social media channel of At America. My name is Putih Puar. Thank you, Patricia, for introducing me. Tonight, we will talk about International Day of Clean Air with the theme of Young Clean Air Campaigners. Maybe a round of applause for all of us here who are joining. And we have already three speakers present, three wonderful ladies. I would like to invite Izin Sun, or we call her Sunny. Please come to the stage. Kania Cita Erlain and Amalia Ayuningtyas. I'll give a brief introduction of each of them, but please sit down first. So I'm going to introduce, I'll give some time for you to talk about yourself and what you're working on related to pollution, but I'll give a short introduction first. So Izin Sun, or we will call her Sunny, is an environmental researcher. She's a researcher on household and business adaptation to environmental and climate risk with a focus on air pollution. And she is a graduate fellow of University of Chicago, Illinois, USA in Energy Policy Institute. And she is ongoing a PhD in economics in University of Chicago Booth School of Business, Illinois, USA. Round of applause for Sunny. Please, guys, I know it's it's evening, but I'm gonna ask you more round of applauses. So please be ready about it. And then Kania. Kania is a political observer. She is a lifelong content senior manager at Zenius Indonesia. She is a former head content and content HR specialist at GeoLife Indonesia, and also a former public policy analyst intern, the House of Representatives Republic of Indonesia. Maybe we can ask some insider info of DPR, ya, Kania.
You know, I cannot conceal that.
And then we have Amalia Ayuningtyas, or Amalia, we can call her Amalia, as the co-founder of Bicara Udara. She is the co-founder and public relation consultant at Inspirasi Digital, an alumni of 2016 IVLP on political activism, U.S. Department of State, USA, and also a political communication. She got MSc of political communication in University of Glasgow, United Kingdom. Okay, another round of applause for all of our wonderful speakers here. So, let me check my rundown. Anyone here feel nervous? I am. Uh, so okay, after we introduce our speakers, we will have a Mentimeter session. Yeah. For everyone who is joining us online and offline, please join us on this Menti. You can go to menti.com and enter the code, or if you're here with your phone, and you can just scan the QR code on the screen. Everybody who's joining us online, please do. Is there any queue if like enough people has joined? We have 3 questions here. Is it okay? Can we continue with the Menti screen? What do you call it? Menti screen? Okay. Now, the first question. In bahasa Indonesia, menurutmu apa penyebab polusi udara di Jabodetabek? In your opinion, what causes air pollution in Jabodetabek? Sunny, Jabodetabek is Jakarta, Bogor, Depok, Tangerang, and Bekasi. I know you already know because you do the research. Just waiting for the response. Oh yeah, answers are coming. Power plant, pembakaran sampah ya, waste burning, cars, transportation, overpopulation. Okay. Industry, smoke, rokok ya. Okay. Oh, we have 66 responses so far. Most of them is the coal power plant and vehicles and waste burning and transportation. Okay. How many more responses that we should wait or we can continue? Okay. The next question. Apa dampak buruk polusi udara terhadap kesehatan yang kamu rasakan atau alami? What bad effects do you feel or experience from air pollution on your health? Oh, coughing, sore throat, severe coughing, batuk. Oh, with a lot of K. I know, right? Batuk. Respiratory infection, batuk-batuk, yes, alergi. Oh, itu muka, just on the face, right? Nafas susah, hard to breathe, lung hard, dizziness, chronic cough. IQ menurun, who said it? The decrease of IQ.
That's actually very possible.
We have 50 responses so far. We had 66 responses on the previous questions, so we're still waiting for more responses on this. Okay, the third question. Menurutmu, apa yang bisa kita lakukan untuk mengatasi polusi udara? Udara, what do you think is the solution to air pollution? Okay. Regulasi. Oh, interesting for Kania. Naik transportasi publik. Stop waste burning. Maybe it means like government should take care of our waste more responsibly. Susah. What? Susah. We got some pessimists here? No. Renewable energy, kebijakan publik, stop waste burning, air purifier. Something interesting about Sunny that we can ask to Sunny. Alihkan ke tenaga surya. transitioning to solar energy. Okay. I think most of us already aware that it's about policy. That's why we have Kania here again as an insider for House of Representative. A lot of pressure on Kania, no pressure Kania. Okay, thank you so much guys for your responses. So we have already Mentimeter here. We have gathered your responses about what do you think about air pollution and what are the bad effect of the pollution and what are the solution that you can think of. Now, before we talk with our speakers, we will have a video showcase of Biru Voices from Bicara Udara. Maybe for on the screen, we can watch the video of Biru Voices. Thank you.
Dan aku senang gitu ya bahwa ada program Biru Voices yang benar-benar mengajak anak-anak muda untuk menjadi semacam spokespeople juga and community leaders untuk mengangkat topik ini karena anak-anak muda benar-benar harus ikutan involved.
Sedang mengadakan Biru Voices 2023. Ini adalah bootcamp untuk anak-anak muda dari universitas untuk belajar menjadi duta udara bersih. Ini adalah batch kita yang kedua. Kenapa kita mengadakan ini sekali lagi? Karena isu polusi udara ini adalah isu yang sangat sulit untuk dicarikan solusinya. Jadi ini akan memerlukan begitu banyak orang untuk mencoba memecahkan masalah ini. Kenapa kita mengadakan Biru Voices 2023? Karena kita mau membekali anak muda kita dengan ilmu yang diperlukan untuk mengawal isu ini sampai ada solusinya.
Sudah ikut bootcamp ini yang keren banget, dapat banyak materi, dapat knowledge, benar-benar bisa jadi agen di luar sana gitu, dan mungkin bisa ngebuat sendiri gerakan-gerakan masing-masing agar bisa nggak cukup hanya cuma segelintir orang yang ada di sini yang bisa bicara soal udara, tetapi juga nanti bisa jadi gelombang yang lebih besar lagi untuk bisa memberikan pengaruh pada kebijakan publik.
Menurut aku kegiatan Bureau Voices ini sangat-sangat excited banget gitu ya, karena isu polusi udara ini udah banyak dirasakan, banyak korbannya, tapi sedikit yang aware akan isu tersebut. Jadi kita belajar banyak tentang isu polusi udara tersebut dan bisa ketemu langsung sama influencer-influencer dan expertise di bidangnya.
Tentunya sangat senang terpilih karena memang polusi udara sekarang sudah merupakan isu yang besar gitu ya dan perlu diperhatikan baik oleh pemerintah dan juga masyarakat. Nah, di sini tugas kita adalah meningkatkan kesadaran masyarakat tentang isu tersebut supaya nanti bisa ke depannya kita bergerak bersama-sama menjadi agent of change bersama-sama supaya kita bisa men-tackle isu ini untuk menjadi isu yang bisa diminimalisir.
Isu lingkungan bukan hanya untuk masa depan, teman-teman. Isu lingkungan adalah isu hari ini untuk kualitas kita hidup yang baik hari ini. Apa yang kita lakukan sangat menentukan juga kualitas hidup yang dimiliki oleh teman-teman kita, saudara kita, adik kita, kakak kita, semuanya. Jadi lingkungan ini adalah urusan kita semua. Nggak bisa kita mempercayakan pada orang lain, dan nggak bisa juga kita berpasrah dengan keadaan sekarang. Sekecil apapun, ikhtiar kita itu menentukan kualitas kita hidup hari ini dan apa yang akan kita berikan kepada generasi mendatang. Bureau Voices 2023 Stand Up for Clean Air.
Bagian yang paling memberi kesan itu setiap aku check-in dan check out, di mana aku bisa mengenal diri aku, lalu aku bisa mengenal sekitar aku, lalu juga materi-materi yang diberikan yang sebenarnya dari aku belum pernah dapat dari akademik gitu, dari kampus.
Okay, another round of applause for Biro Voices. Anyone who joined Biro Voices are here present? Please raise your hand so we can see your faces. Oh, there you are. Okay, now we're going to continue our discussion. Maybe we can not continue but start. So my first question will be for each speaker. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you're working on these days that is related to air pollution or maybe a relation to the government and people reaction and action for protecting themselves from air pollution? Maybe we can start from Sunny and then Kania and then Amalia.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me? So I'm Sunny, and as you already mentioned, I'm an environmental researcher. Specifically, I'm trained in economics. So I'm very interested in the costs of air pollution to us in terms of economics, how people are making decisions with respect to air pollution, how they're kind of interacting and practicing to protect themselves against air pollution. I think it's a very interesting topic because I think all of you probably know that it's very different from, if your car breaks down and you need to fix your car. It's these harms you can't really see immediately, right? And so to tip people over into a state where they actually take action to protect themselves, to demand more from the government, I think that's where my interest lies, and what the incentives are that get people across the finish line there. And so I'll talk about a project I have that I'm working on right now to examine that in the context of Jakarta, but I'm also working on other projects that specifically focus on the health impacts and how we can protect people from the negative impacts of air pollution. And I'm excited to be here because there's so much movement, and it's exciting to be in a place where social change is happening in front of my eyes.
Thank you, Sunny. You will share a little bit about your research later. Okay. Kania.
Okay, thank you, Buti. Yeah, hi guys, I'm Kania. These days, I think the works that I do that is related to air pollution, it's about two things. I think the first one is I work in education, and I mostly educate people in how to think scientifically and rationally, and I guess in that part is related to air pollution issues, is about how can we respond to it through the rational and scientific lens, making us more aware about the issue, like the facts about it, like how does it work, and then what can we do to reduce it at individual level before obviously government does things that they need to do. And then on the second part is because I studied politics, so I do political contents since like 2017, I guess, or 16, so it's been like 7 years into the things. I do YouTube contents and podcasts on political issues. So I usually talk about what's, public problems that we're facing currently, and that includes air pollution these days. So I talk about air pollution in a podcast with Piotr, if you guys know him. Yeah. He's from Nafas. And then, and then we discuss a lot about, how Jakarta has been facing these problems actually for years. And somehow it's just this year that we start to like realize, well, we have this problem. It's like really funny because Piotr was telling us actually it's been years and years of problems, and the same problem is so I think Piotr and maybe other people in Bicara Udara as well have been working on the issues for years. So I'm just so glad that they finally get the stage that they deserve. It's get the awareness and attention that they deserve. So I'm hoping that we can find a solution very soon and implement it. And what I'm doing specifically through the education part, I hope that I help this problem in a way that I help people to empower themselves in responding to it correctly, not to perpetuate the problems even further. I think that's what I'm trying to do. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Kania. Mbak Amalia?
Hello everyone, my name is Amalia. I am one of the co-founders from Bicara Udara. First of all, I am a mother of two sons. The first one is 5 years old, and then the second one is 3 years old. And my life changed after I become a parent. I used to be political activist, and then I switched a career as a full-time communication strategic. But after I am being a full-time mom, I realized that the current situation regarding of the environment, especially in the big cities like Jakarta, is very concerning. Especially start when 2019, I'm start aware to wear a mask, and at that time. I really try to engage with a lot of people, and I find that Bicara Udara is like a learning experience. We get a lot of learning from here because it's like science-based matters, and we don't know where to start. A lot of research comes with English journals, and there is like a very few things comes from Indonesia, and then we also try to find from the media, but like there are little people talk about it from their expertise. And then in 2020, me, Bu Ratna, and then Novita try to establish the Bicara Udara, and then we believe that Bicara Udara has to be like a learning hub, and we have to knock people one by one and try to encourage them to speak more about it, because we believe that this kind of issue needs to be addressed in interdisciplinary and then cross expertise. And after that, our theory of change we learned from AQLI from University of Chicago. At that time, we learned that there are three things that are important to drive change. The first one is clean air needs effective policy. And then the second one, effective policy needs political will. And then the third one, to unlock political will, we need a lot of well-informed citizens to demand that kind of things. So start from there, we focus on two things. The first one is creating a lot of well-informed citizens from the university, from the mothers, from a lot of people with different backgrounds. And then the second one, we focus on the policy. I think that's for my long introduction.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's already from the introduction, I can already summarize one thing. So it's from the policy will come from political will, and political will come from the well-informed citizen. Wow. Okay. Now I'll jump to the question for you, Amalia. As what Kania mentioned, that air pollution has now got the attention that it deserves, and it's currently trending. Before we talk about more technical stuff with Sunny and more political stuff with Kania, maybe can you share to us about the air pollution current status in urban Indonesia, maybe according to what you've been doing with Bicara Udara?
Okay, actually I prepared some slides if
Okay,
the
there
team
are
can
some
show it.
slides from Bicara Udara.
So, okay, I will open the explanation from the one that we learned from AQLI, that the air pollution problem is possible to tackle. Next. So air pollution is manageable problem, and there are a lot of big cities out there that experience this and then can overcome the problems. This one is London, we have Los Angeles and also China, but there are a lot of big cities out there that already experience this kind of circumstance. And they can overcome that because of two things, the political will and then the demand from the citizens. Next. Right now in Indonesia, however, we are now dealing with unknowns and operate in a world of uncertainty. Even though Bicara Udara is already 3 years old, but we also still learning about what's going on because unfortunately in Indonesia there is like lack of data and you can see from the media nowadays that there are a lot of stakeholders that come with one opinion and then the other day someone come with a different opinion and we as a citizens become confused, right? Which the data is legitimate, how can we protect ourselves and so on. Next. So the current situation right now, we get this data from Kementerian Kesehatan. We see that during the last 2 years in Jabodetabek, there is trend of air pollution exceed WHO safe limits, and the consequence is the trend of the respiratory disease. So you can see that this data come from Kemenkes, but I think besides of ISPA, there are a lot of disease that comes from the air pollution too. So it's just one of the picture from the impact of air pollution. And then next. And if we break down the data, we can see that in Jabodetabek itself, in Jakarta itself, it's like the trend is all of the regional get our slide. Next. And this one is from the Jabodetabek. So it's like very concerning. Next. So maybe I will stop there to give the glimpse of the problems that we face right now with the trend of the disease and then the unknown and uncertainty situation. Okay.
Okay, thank you. We'll get back to your slide about more campaign, but before we do that, I would like to welcome for those who just joined us on site and for those who just joined us online. If you guys have any question, you can ask through the Zoom or the social media channel of @America. It will appear magically here on my iPad, so I will ask. And if you have any specific question that you would like to ask to specific speaker, please mention it on your question, okay? Now, so we have some data here. The next question is for Sunny. Based on your, from your experience and your academic knowledge, what is actually the factors of the high level of air pollution in Indonesia?
I mean, I think we can all guess the first one. It's traffic and the transport system that we have. Congestion is one part of that. Cars sitting idle all the time. There's traffic everywhere. Another part is the fuel efficiency, the fuel emissions and the emission standards from the cars that we have. Indonesia's standards are quite relaxed compared to a lot of other countries, even within Asia and Southeast Asia. And so it's not just that, there's a lot of cars. Even if the number of cars stay the same, we could still do something by taking all the gross stuff out of the fuel that we're using. And so I think estimates of how much traffic and transportation is contributing to air pollution in Jakarta hovers around 40 to 60%. Then on the other side, we also have coal-fired power plants as a big contributor to air pollution. They're, in the areas outside of Jakarta, but air pollution does not see administrative boundaries, so they are floating right into the cities. And I want to kind of emphasize, and this is something that I think you talked about, Amalia's talked about the uncertainty of the data, and there is a lot of uncertainty here in the sources, and that is, that is the starting point, right? Let's get the facts straight, because, I mean, we've seen it in the media. There's a lot of arguing over where the heck is this air pollution coming from. And you know what? We can figure it out. It's hard. And the people who are working on the topics, there's been a lot of great research coming out recently on this. They're doing a lot of good work, but they need the support and the funding and the political will to make sure that there's active source apportionment studies coming out so that we can actually make policy decisions based on evidence. So more evidence, please, so that we can actually get the numbers down.
Yes, more data and less debate, maybe. Okay, thank you for sharing, Sunny. Maybe I can ask the next question to Kania. So Sunny also talks about the regulation. We are pretty relaxed here about the emission standard for the vehicles. And my question is, we actually already have many regulations and policies in regard to controlling or mitigating the risk of air pollution. But as a political observer, why is air pollution still becoming a problem nowadays?
It's a funny question. It's more like funny, actually. I don't, yeah. I don't believe in regulations. Oh, that's a radical statement. But yeah, in educating people to do rational thinking, I actually do a lot of approaches through economics framework, economics way of thinking. It's like regulations are just pieces of papers that gives the government legitimacy to do things. So it's like the ceremony, that you do. Like every Monday, like you do the flag ceremony to celebrate the nation. It's just a cultural tool to help us give the government legitimacy to do things. That's basically what regulations are. But then, if I make a regulation today that you're allowed to fly, can you fly? It's like if you don't have the wings to fly, it just doesn't matter how many regulations I put there to make you fly. You won't fly, So the question about regulations is really, it really goes down to, is it implementable? Like for example, we have these regulations on the waste burning, right? So we ban people from burning waste. But then these people, these citizens, everyday citizens, who are burning waste every day, they're gonna ask me like, then what do I do to this waste? Like, where do I put it? Like we don't have the system to process this. So, it's just nonsense. If we make all this bunch of pieces of paper saying, stop burning waste, but then you don't tell me how to process my waste. It's like, how can we enforce that? The compliance rate probably less than 1%. You cannot put policing to 99% of people. 99% of violations. It's like when you make people wear masks, right? Imagine if 99% of the people believe that it's their freedom not to wear a mask, and they don't want to wear it. How many police you need to enforce such rules, right? So in economics framework, we're gonna think about incentive-driven system, right? And disincentive-driven system. It's like, and to make sure that people have options to do it, right? Even if we implement such incentive-driven system, it's like, let's say we pay people not to burn waste, right? But then they don't have any other options. So they're gonna think about, if you pay them like, say, 1 million per day if you don't burn waste, but then they're gonna have this mound of waste in their house, they're gonna think about, is it worth the 1 million? So I think it's like mound of evidence show us that people respond to incentive system that makes sense. So I think, let's think about that, When we talk about this filtration on the factories, like our government has that, like, I'm sorry, I don't have law degree, so I cannot explain the rules to you. I don't know, because my corporate lawyer friend even confused about it. Like we have layers and layers of regulations. Our legislative bodies, our DPR RI, legislative body, their key performance indicator is how many regulations they make a year. So we have a lot of regulations. It's like basically we judge them based on how many regulations they make. That's it. It's like even content creators have better KPI, Yeah, I am a content creator, and YouTube don't pay me because I make 1,000 videos a day, The AdSense that you get is based on engagement rate. So it's crazy that we have this KPI where our representatives are working to create as many regulations as possible, but then we don't count the rate of success of that regulations. It's like how many times it's being enforced, We don't have that measurement. So they're gonna create, more and more regulations. But then the question is that, again, is that implementable, right? And I think that part, like the filtration on the factories, I'll get back to that. The factory owners are in this competition, right, called capitalism. So they're gonna think about how to reduce cost, right? So we're gonna think about, if 100% of the players are thinking about that, right, how can I reduce my cost? Then we need to think about how to break that game, right? Because if everybody wants to reduce cost, implementing filtrations in all of their, all this pollution source in their factories are definitely increasing cost. then how to drive such change in their behavior, right? So we need to think about that. We can't just produce pieces of papers again, right? So we need to think about how these pieces of papers work on these people, right? And like shutting down coal, right? The coal owners are going to think about, then how can I survive? There is if you shut this down. Obviously, we're going to say, because I don't have stakes in that, right? Because I don't have coal plant, I don't have businesses having factories and all that. So it's easy for me to say, just shut that down today, right? But then in a society, we need to think about how we manage all these interests, right? So every time like I'm engaged in this kind of discussions, I always think like these idealists and activists are rarely empathizing, this way, in this sense. It's like, I heard before about this theory of change, right, that Amalia presented. Amalia said that in the last part, it's about informed citizens demanding the politicians do, change, right? I slightly disagree. If you're demanding things that doesn't benefit them in any way, would they do that for you, right? Because what I see in our democracy is that when the government does their job badly, everybody screams, right? But when they do their job well, nobody does anything. Do you vote for them? No. Do you campaign for them? No. So if they do a little bit of change that is in the direction that we want, we incentivize them. Do we incentivize them? No. But if they do the opposite direction, just a little bit, and then we scream, and then we're angry, and then we're protesting, and all that. So I think the way that we demand things from government is that let's utilize this democracy well, effectively. So we need to, again, incentivize them. I'm sorry, but yes, I am a utilitarian thinker. So I do think in terms of how we can produce utilities, values for people to do the things that we want them to do. And I guess that's the very basic of political discourse.
But aren't they already got paid a lot by us?
Yeah, that's
do they need more incentive from us?
Exactly, that would be what people say, right? What I think is, it's like, let's say Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is a singer, right? I like her. Let's say we tell Taylor Swift, hey, can you sing in my birthday party for like $1 million? That's a lot of money for me. Yeah. But then if she gets another opportunity that gives her more values, why don't she take that choice, right? So we need to think about, if we pay our government, let's say we think that's a decent salary, but then we need to think about the opportunity cost that they need to pay, in order to do the right thing, I think we need to stop thinking in terms of that people are going to do things based on the kindness of their heart. I think we need to think about whether what we want them to do benefits them in a way that would make sense for them to take that choice. And it's not just the government, it's also those citizens that do the waste burning every day. Yeah. Right?
And those businessmen who have coal.
Exactly, exactly. And there are a lot of people, I mean, again, we want the law enforcement to work, right? But then compliance rate need to make sense. It's like, if the violation happens 99% of the time, we won't have enough police in our country to enforce the regulations. So I think a lot of things, people do or don't do things that are even not in the regulations at all, because there's an incentive system that works that push them to do it or not to do it, So I guess we need to start thinking in terms of that as well. Obviously, I support the law enforcement way, right? I mean, like, we need to also drive that to happen. But then on the other hand, we need to also think about how we can create a system that behaviorally, push them to voluntarily do things or not do things that we think would work for the air pollution problems.
Okay,
I think that's how I said.
Quite heavy for our discussion, because it seems that we need to give more incentive for the policymaker, because that's
If they do the job well.
Because that's because yeah, I know, but that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense because just like what Kania mentioned, even though we have many regulation, but it can be implemented because it's not well facilitated, then well, that's something that is hard to happen.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay. Okay, Kania, quite heavy there, but
Just the question is heavy as well.
yeah, you said
I
it
put
was
the blame on the
funny.
question.
Okay, but I think that's very insightful for us to understand at least about how complicated, because I think according to the Mentimeter, everyone already understood that we have a lot of things to do with the regulation and not only about our individual action and things like that. So at least we get a like a big picture, at least a glimpse of it, how actually complicated it is to talk about public policy and regulation, and to comply to it is another thing. But I'm going back to Amalia. My question is, so we already talk about something scientific, which is turned out to be we need more research based on Sunny, and then we need more incentive based on Kania. But okay, let's talk about what we can do as a well-informed citizen. Let's say, so as a co-founder of Bicara Udara, and we also already watched the Biru Voices 2023, which I think very promising. Young people, even today, our title is Young Clean Air Campaigners. I think everyone is so excited about talking about this. What do you think? Why? How come is there an increasing trend of public participation? Because as what you mentioned and as what Kania mentioned, it's been happening like for years, and now how come it becomes such a trending topic and everyone wants to talk about this?
Okay, before I got back to I get back from my slide, the first thing that I want to emphasize is based on one of the survey from Cerah and Indicator, they say that in the next election, one of the dominant voters is young people, right? And right now, young people is also well informed about climate change and so on. And that's the one thing. And then the second thing is the air pollution is really bad. I mean that it's like for 5 years in a row, we get #1 for as the most polluted cities. And I think it's about kind of momentum because there is like citizens that are that concern, and they will be like a currency for election next year.
Yes.
And I think that if we mention about Chania say that we have to incentivize the policymaker, I think we as citizen needs to come to think that clean air comes with a price, right? If we consider ourselves as citizens, maybe we can do two things to get things right. The first one is be considerate or be wise with your purchasing power, because with your purchasing power, you can incentivize the market, the donation for the campaigning, because right now there are a lot of politicians that needs public funding too, right? And then the second one with the be mindful as citizens. I mean that based on the CSIS survey, 70% Indonesian people believe in democracy. But in fact, there are less people that understand how the practice of the democracy itself. Democracy is a discourse that always come up in election. In the non-time frame election, it's like how we exercise our rights. It's not something that very common to be talked in the public. So in Bicara Udara, we want to emphasize that because we want the aim of our movement is to create well-informed citizens it's not just focusing on the issue itself, the problem itself, but we also needs to experimenting or collaborating with more people regarding the what we call it, citizenship education. Because when we go back to the students, maybe we know that PPKN, Pendidikan Kewarganegaraan, but it's like a lot of things that we have to memorize about Pancasila, but we don't have like a certain system thinkings that very practical in facing.
What is it to be adil ya?
Yeah. What is it to be adil? What is it to be believe in God, but relating can relate that kind of belief to environment, for example. So what Bicara Udara do right now is trying to create that. We need to create open ecosystem. We welcome anyone who cares, and we know that this problem needs cross interdisciplinary and expertise. Then we need more people to like contribute with their expertise. I want to go back with my slides in the last slides.
Okay.
Two last slides, if I can. Next. So this one is Bicara Udara plan. Basically, we have 3 missions. The first one is public campaigning. The second one is research, and then the third one is advocacy. And we in the near future, we hope that we can get more support to continue to do that, because we know that this kind of momentum this year, we don't want it to end this year. We want to get another momentum in the next couple of years, so this kind of advocacy can continue. In these slides, you can see that we really focus on how to make or how we demand or request data transparency from the government, and also we want to advocate to the how that baku mutu udara ambient standards according to WHO standards. So we get the fit standards according to WHO, and then we also want to push the health warnings, because right now if the air pollution is bad, then no protocols come to save the citizens. And then the next one is we encourage emission inventories. We see that, for example, like in Jakarta, there is already policy about that, but we want to push that in Jabodetabek, for example. So we have more data and more local government that aware on that. We also want to focus on the budget, because we see that, like Chania said, it's about the economic and political things too. And maybe you can see the slides, but I mean, we not only about the policy, but we also ensure with the budget too. Next. And this one that I really want to emphasize to all of you, that young advocates for clean air today. This is what we can do together now and beyond. The first one, we have to understand that the price of clean air. So please be someone that very wise with your purchasing power and then your votes. And then the second one is be resourceful and knowledgeable related about the condition of our environment, because the environments now, the problem is not only in the air pollution, but also in the water, in the forest, and so on. And then the third one, understanding how the democracy works. It include connect with your lawmaker. Maybe who's remember who you vote in the last election. I mean that it's really important, because we have to go back to them. We have to check that the KPI is fulfilled or not, right? We don't just have to vote, but forget about what their work. And then the second one is demand the clean air blueprints. It's on the DPRD or in the local government like Bupati, Wali Kota, and so on. And then the fourth one, the last one is get social. I mean that we have to connect, collaborate, and then you know, get more partnerships so we can get stronger to fight for the clean air. I think that's for my presentation.
Okay, thank you. I really would like to go back to Kania because I know she has a lot of things to say about this, especially with the connect with lawmaker, because actually I just knew that actually we measure the success of our DPR or House of Representatives based on how many regulation do they create and not like the success rate. It actually I really didn't know before this, so thank you, Kania. But I think I would like to know more from the behavioral side, because Sunny works on also on the behavior of people in Jakarta, right? Especially in relation to the use of air purifiers. Can you tell us a little bit about your research and maybe what kind of messages that is effective for your target audience or your people who you do your research with?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a slide deck on this. I don't know who I'm looking at to get this. Yeah, so yes, like Puti said, I work on air pollution and air purifiers, how people are using them, but air purifiers are really a proxy for people's behaviors and willingness to actually take concrete action against air pollution. So I think that's the part that I'm mostly interested in, that concrete action part. And I like to think about this in the framework of a classic kind of public health model known as knowledge, attitudes, and practices model, in identifying where exactly there might be gaps, either in information or in behavior. And so next slide, please. And so these are kind of just 3 building blocks for kind of breaking down how people relate to air pollution. So the first block is, what is the science that people actually know? What are the facts that people are engaging with or perhaps not engaging with? What misinformation is out there? So that's the first knowledge component. Then next slide. And then the next block, we have attitudes, which builds upon the knowledge or the misinformation that people have. And this kind of encapsulates people's opinions, their feelings, what they're actually talking about to each other. Maybe it's that, they know that air pollution is harmful, so they have the knowledge, but maybe they don't have time to think about it, and I want to document if that kind of thing is happening. Next slide, please. And finally, what are people actually doing? This is the part that I'm really, really interested in, because even when people have knowledge and even when they actually want to do something about it, triggering that behavioral change is, it's so hard, but that's what kind of drives policy and actual demand for clean air and action. And that's kind of where my research really lies. And so, so I care a lot about the behavioral economics of what people are engaging in on a daily basis. And so I think about kind of these 3 building blocks, how they build upon each other, how changing one aspect could affect the other 2 aspects. And so I've been doing a household survey to kind of try to identify where maybe the chain is breaking among these 3. And I think 2 interesting facts I thought I would share with you so far is, first off, people do care about air pollution as a whole. So good news. They frequently rank it as the most important environmental concern to them. Yeah. And they generally are quite supportive of policies that are meant to tackle air pollution. Now, of course, as Kanya has mentioned, we need to think about whether they're willing to kind of bear costs in order to push that regulation through. But at least on the surface, at least in attitude-wise, they're willing to support it. But then the other thing that I think is interesting, that's a huge kind of knowledge gap, is people think that they can hide from outdoor air pollution when they're in their house. And they really think of pollution as something that they worry about when they're sitting on a Gojek or walking around outside. And they think that they're much safer indoors. Even when all their windows and their doors are open, they think they're safe because they're not connecting that they can't hide from air pollution that permeates all of our lives. And I think that's an important information gap that can be solved. And if we can solve that, I mean, if they already care about air pollution at this point, then that will really get them to care about air pollution. And to kind of push one step further, so I've worked on identifying kind of where the information failures are. Next slide, please. Sorry, skip past this. Yeah, sorry, I decided to skip the charts because I didn't want to bore everyone. Can we go 2 more slides? So I actually come to Jakarta this trip to implement an experiment where we gave a bunch of households indoor air quality monitors and a purifier, as well as an information intervention to help them bridge a gap in their knowledge. And I'm interested in this because I want to know what interventions are actually successful in encouraging people to care and to pay attention more and to protect themselves more. And so that is how I actually measured people's indoor air quality levels. And let me tell you, it is the exact same as outdoor air pollution levels. It is like indistinguishable. And that was very, very surprising to people. And I'm in the middle of this work right now, which is also why I don't want to share too much of the findings just yet, although you can contact me in a couple of months. I'll actually have the final results. Yeah. Yeah, I'm collecting the data right now, and it is hot out there when you're doing surveying. But I mean, what I'm already seeing so far is that the indoor air quality monitor is making a big difference. People are paying attention to it because they were not aware that indoor air pollution levels were that high. And the other thing that really, really shocked them, next slide please, is what their purifiers look like and what their filters look like. So left-hand side, we have a pretty bad purifier on our hands, and on the right-hand side, you can look at what a new filter looks like, the green one, versus what a filter looks like after 3 months. And basically, every single household, their filters look like this. And it is a really effective message to stand in front of a mother, pull this out of the purifier, and say, this is what you would have been breathing if the purifier wasn't here. Yeah. But I think it's really sad though, because we surveyed a lot of low and middle income households who they don't have air conditioners. It's really hot. They keep their windows and their doors open, and so we can't bring the air quality down. We can't bring the air pollution levels down that much. So even if we were to give every single low-income household and every single household that has lung or heart issues an air purifier, that can't solve the problem. It needs to come from the government. And it's sad, but perhaps an empowering message. So back to what your original question was, what can we actually do? What types of messages are useful? I mean, I think the ones that are useful here are the ones that are really surprising. So things like this. And then the ones that are really personal, that make it known to them that they can't escape, that this is hurting them, even when they don't think that they're bearing the cost of it, that this is something that's permeating through their whole lives, and that there's basically just nowhere to hide. Scary, but I think powerful. Yeah.
Is there any further research about the correlation with the level of anxiety in the household?
I mean, we talked to a lot of people who actually, they were getting pretty anxious, especially when the filters kind of stopped working.
Yeah.
It was getting so
Even
clogged
I
up.
am anxious right now.
Yeah, just
see
looking
that.
at that. I was shocked. Honestly, when I saw the left-hand side, I thought they dropped it in mud at first. I was confused. But it is anxiety-inducing, and especially, we surveyed a lot of parents, and so when you make it personal on that level, to say not just that you're breathing it in, but that this is going into your kids' lungs, that's a really powerful message.
Yes. Okay, so from Sunny, the effective messages would be something that is surprising, where we fill the knowledge gap, and also when it touches the personal level of their life. Right. Okay. Thank you, Sunny. Actually, we are now on the Q&A session because I also would like to invite those who are joining online. If you guys would like to ask something, please let us know. It can be from Zoom, Facebook, Instagram. But for now, for those who are joining on site, is there any question? Maybe we can start with two question first, right? The one with the glasses and the lady in the white shirt.
Hello. I'm sorry at first, but my English quite bad. So I write my question first. Okay. My name is Kiki. My question is, do you think if we make a game about air pollution, it will bring great impact to our society? For context, I just made a game studio called Memento Game Studio with my friend. Our studio want to make games that not only fun but also could make an impact to our society. We actually plan to make a game about pemilu next year. But because we are new, we want to build a portfolio first. Also, since air pollution is quite personal to me, since my sister has an asthma, I want to make a game about air pollution. Do you think it could make an impact? Do you think if maybe a lot of people will play it, people will change, and by itself, the government will finally act? Thank you.
Kiki, do you have any speaker that you would specifically ask this question or for everyone?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Which speaker? Semua atau mau pilih?
It's general question.
General question, okay, for everyone. Okay, we can continue to the next question first, and then we can start the answer.
Good evening, speakers and my fellow friends. So my name is Najma Amalia Kurniawan, and I'm actually one of the Bureau Voices from 2022. And so earlier I was at an event, and I was being like the speaker of Bicara Udara booth, and I do encountered some people that are, let's say, they have knowledge about air pollution, but they don't believe that air pollution exists. Even when we have all the data, all the resources that are on the internet that you can actually read and easily accessible, but they do not believe that air pollution exists. And one thing is that they don't even care about it. Like, even if they see through their eyes that our air is very dirty, they were like, oh, but I'm fine jogging in Gebek. I do not have any complaint about it. So how would you, in terms of rational thinking, like how would you persuade them to have into context that this issue is actually a very bad concern? Like this issue needs to be concerned more, you know? So how would you advise us as an agent of change to actually persuade those kind of people to believe that air pollution is an urgent for everyone? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Najma and Kiki. Is it for everyone as well? Okay. So the first question is about game about air pollution. Do you think it would work? Would it be effective? Maybe I can start with Sunny, maybe the behavioral behavior expert.
Yeah, this is such an interesting question.
Interesting idea as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think, one of the things that is important that I've learned from the climate change movement in the US specifically, just because that's where I've experienced it, is that joy and fun is an integral part of keeping a movement alive. I think one of my favorite quotes is, hope is a discipline that you have to continue to nurture. And I think creating a game that supports that makes protesting or agitating or demanding things from the government, something that can make that fun, is an amazing thing to contribute.
Kania? Be honest, that's okay.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, hopefully. Being honest is okay. I think one of the most successful campaigns using game on this kind of issues is the game that's called Dumb Ways to Die. It's from Australia, if I remember correctly. I play that game all the time. I don't do those dumb things in the train station, but it's a really fun thing to do. So I think, I'm going to use the marketing funnel framework here. When you drive change, it's like the first step would be awareness, right? Yeah. So I guess games would help, for that. It's like if there are still many people out there who are not aware of these issues, I think a game would be a great idea to, to achieve that, to make, to reach more people. But then you also kind of need to think about the platform, for that to run, right? It requires gadgets or internet connection. I think people with gadgets and internet connection might already be aware of the issues. So maybe you got to think about if you really want to increase awareness, you're going to tap into the market that is not aware yet, right? Yeah. Of the issues. So you're going to think about whether or not this game can be targeted to those audience. I think that would be the challenge. But overall, I think it's a good idea. I think it would be helpful for the issues. Thank you.
I also agree that that kind of interesting idea will help to campaigning about air pollution, because last year, 2 years ago, when Bicara Udara partnership with Kata Data Insight Center, we find that 40% average people in Jabodetabek already feel about the impact of air pollution, but it's like more than 70% people don't know about 2.5 PM particulate matters. So maybe if you can create a game about PM 2.5 that can increasing the impact, 101 things about PM 2.5 with the interactive and visually insightful, maybe you can help the campaign. And if you want to talk further about that, please help Bicara Udara. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so it's really important to know who are the target audience are, whether they already have the knowledge, and then because Sunny mentioned about the first barrier is the knowledge, and then the attitude, and then the practices. And I think it is also related to the second question from Najma, right? It's about dealing with people who actually have the knowledge, but they don't actually believe or care enough about the pollution issue. Maybe Amalia can start first.
Yeah. When Najma asked about that question, I remember about the COVID situation when like a lot of people also don't believe on the COVID things, but COVID denials. Yeah. But I think for the campaign itself, we cannot target everyone, right? It's like, yes, we have to raising awareness about this issue, but we have to know which targeted citizens that we can address more. So if you find that some people that really don't believe this, maybe we can, looking for a different approach. For example, like we have to see the profile itself. Is it come from this certain economic background or from the religious background? So we need to get a lot of experiments. I mean that ABC testing, for example. But I mean that if you don't have like a lot of resource for that, just focus for the potential target campaigning. I think that's for me.
Okay, so it also depends on the background of who are you targeting for your campaign, right? Kania?
Yeah. I remember back then in 2013 when I just entered uni, it was the first time I was exposed to climate crisis issues. And in that moment, I think there's a seminar, an international seminar. And then these people already say that we're already too late. So it's like we're already like 10 years too late. And then the crazy part is that to this day, there are still climate crisis deniers out there, right? So it's already like 20 years into the issues, and climate crisis deniers are still everywhere. But then I think change doesn't require 100% of people to buy the issues. So the way I do change, I think the way I drive change is that I first focus on the ones who are already on board. And I think we don't empower them enough yet, right now. Like as of right now, when you have like people who are already aware of the pollution, air pollution issues, I think we haven't empowered them enough. Like I think we can, do more, organize, mobilize, and all that. And then I think if I encounter those people, or climate crisis deniers, and air pollution deniers in this case, I think I'm just gonna ignore them. Like COVID deniers. In America alone, I think they go through 2 years of COVID with millions of COVID deniers. But that doesn't mean their government doesn't do anything about it, right? So I think even when there are millions of people who are still in denial of this issue, I think we can still do things about it. I think we just need, maybe 20, 30% of the people. So if 70% of the people are still in denial of that, I think we can still drive change. So I think the way I do things, that's how I do it. I would focus on the ones who are already on board, and then try to work with the elites who are really in power. The stakeholders, the co-owners, factory owners, the government. These are just a very small numbers of people. So I guess if there are this large number of people don't even care about the issues, I actually think that doesn't matter, because what matters is actually the one who cares and the one with power, the stakeholders. So I think let's just focus on that first. Let's organize, mobilize, and drive these stakeholders to do things. I think that's how I do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sunny?
Yeah, I totally agree with both of what you're saying. That I think I read a statistic somewhere that for a social movement to be effective, you need about 5% of the population to be active participants, and then you need another like 20, 30 to be paying attention, and then the rest can be passive. Because I mean, I don't care about most things. We all don't care about a lot of things, even when they're important. And so you just need a core group of people who've decided that this is the fight that I'm going to fight in. And that's what you and everyone in this room are doing. And to just sustain that momentum is all we really need. I think if I were to actually encounter that person, Ashma, that you faced, from what I've seen in dealing with trying to make people care on a case-by-case basis, I think this is why we targeted parents, really. Even if you don't care, making them think about their kids, or maybe just someone who's sick that they know, a grandparent, something like that, that can be a really effective tool. Thinking about air pollution is like smoking a cigarette. Would you let your 5-year-old smoke a cigarette? I think that is an effective message to send. And then I think my last point is that this misinformation or lack of caring, it's also a systems issue. It's because we're not getting good information out there. We need the government to be consistent in the messaging that they send out so that people know that it's a real problem and something that they should care about. Maybe that'll come from government officials, maybe it comes from doctors, but we need people who are in positions of power to actually give out the right information.
Okay, thank you very much for your answers. So again, let's focus on who are already on board with us and empower them, right? And actually, I'm sorry that we could only answer 2 questions. After this, we will have another presentation from Bureau Voices. So I would like to thank all of our speakers for
Thank you, guys.
For your answer, for your insights.
Thank you, Puti.
I know you guys maybe still have a lot of questions, but feel free to let's continue and carry on this conversation. Let's not stop here. Let's empower each other and. Yes, you can always ask Kania on her social media. It will be there will be more contents to produce for her. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I would like to give back the floor to Patricia. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaputi. Once again, can we give a big round of applause to our moderator and speakers? Please, you may be seated again. Thank you so much. And now we're gonna hear presentation. She is a clean air campaigner from Biru Voices 2023. Please everyone, welcome Tarida Gita Putri Butar Butar.
So I just present standing up here. Okay. Hello everyone. Good evening, honorable guests. I am Gita. I'm Bureau Voices 2023, and I am here today to present about Bureau Voices' project campaign. Okay. But before we are getting into the project campaign, let me introduce you to what is Bureau Voices. So we are youth who are very much concerned of the air pollution in Indonesia. We now have 20 members coming from very diverse educational backgrounds. Some are majoring in communication, food technology, tourism, and I am a social welfare student. And but we have one vision in common, even though we're coming from very diverse educational background. We all want to combat air pollution to Indonesia with our project campaign. So let me present the brilliant ideas of Indonesia's outstanding youth, Bureau Voices 2023. Please, next slide. So the first one is my project campaign. I do my project campaign in Kampung Air, which is a village, a slum area in Pasar Minggu, or South Jakarta. So why I'm doing this talk show, this project campaign, is because this Kampung Air, the people of Kampung Air like to do open waste burning. Why? Because the garbage dues are too expensive and burning waste is way cheaper and easier for them, and people are not aware of the existence of the waste bank there. So I see the need of behavioral change there, and after that, we do socialization. My project campaign is socialization about how open waste burning is very dangerous towards their health. And to make it effective, we collaborate with government. Jakarta is official environmental agency, and also community from my campus, Universitas Indonesia. There's a community called Manggala Jingga, who is focusing on making Kampung Air a better place, and also with the neighborhood unit, or in Bahasa, we call it RT. Jadi, we're collaborating with the RT there. And through the Bureau Voices bootcamp, I learned that we need to make the project campaign is in fact sustainable. So we do a collaborative monitoring with Manggala Jingga to ensure that the people of Kampung Air do use the waste bank instead of burning their waste. Next. Next is Patricia's project campaign. She was doing this project campaign last week in the forms of talk show. The talk show is talking about the health effects of air pollution for children. The participator are women living in Sentul. It's talking about the health effects of air pollution for children. Next. We only have a little bit of time, so I have to presentate a little faster. And Indah and Reza is doing their project campaign through social media. Reza is doing a digital campaign. He will be making a documentary, short documentary through Instagram Reels. And Indah, she will be doing a video competition and FGD, and also writing workshop. The theme of the writing workshop is collaboration to combat air pollution. Next. And here is Azam. Azam is a geophysics student at University of Indonesia. He has been doing some research about air pollution. You can see more of his works in Instagram at BEM UI Official. And he will be doing his project campaign next week in collaboration with co-founder of Bicara Udara, Ms. Novita Natalia, and also CEO of Nafas. Next. And Dave, he is presenting his project campaign in a very unique way. He will be doing a public lecture collaborating communication and also air pollution issue into a public lecture. And here is Agus. Agus is a political science student in in Universitas Indonesia also. He will be talking about air pollution policy because Indonesia is going to have their political year. Next year, we will choose our president. So it's very important to talk about is the government is very serious or not about air pollution. Next. Here is Cinta. Cinta is a food technology student at Prasetya Mulia University. She will be doing the project campaign in the form of talk show, demonstration, forum, and campaign. The demonstration is about Nafasis tools for measuring the air pollution, air quality. And also, Sefina will be doing a talk show talking about the capability and the seriousness of Ministry of Health about air pollution. Next. And lastly, but not least, Charisma is gonna do series of events, survey and talk show and petition, and one online campaign about social media, in social media. And next, oh yeah, it's the end of the presentation, and I want us to bring home one conclusion from what I learned through being a Bicara Udara's ambassador, is that no matter who we are, where we're coming from, or what our occupation is, our focus is, there's no reason to not care, to not care about air pollution, because there's no reason to ignore. Sorry, let me open this. From this presentation, I want us to bring home one conclusion, which is that no matter who we are, where we are coming from, wherever our occupation is, there's no reason not to take steps to make the world a better place to breathe air. Thank you. That's all from me. Beer Voices 2023, stand up for clean air.
Thank you so much, Gita, and of course to all moderator and speakers. Thank you so much for today. Can we give a big round of applause to the event today? Thank you. Earlier in this event, we have trivia quiz for you who joined us via online platform, and the question was, is it true or false? The theme for the 2023 International Day of Clean Air is Together for Clean Air, and the correct answer is true. It highlights the urgent need for stronger partnerships, increased investment, and shared responsibility for overcoming air pollution. So shout out at Alex Rahardi from Instagram, who is the fastest one who can guess correctly. The last, we want you to collaborate with us by visit our website www.atamerica.or.id. Click collaborate with us and submit your greatest idea. Also, to keep updated for our next events here in At America, you can follow our social media. We have on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, AT America. With that, my name is Patricia Elizabeth, and see you at the next At America events. Bye! I invite the moderator and speakers to take a picture together on the stage.